What's up, everyone? My name's Lachlan Perry. Welcome to Author on Author Interviews. Tonight, I'm honoured to be joined by Mark van Stratum, an entrepreneur and influencer who's currently living over in Europe. Mark has an amazing background, and I encourage anyone who's watching this video or listening to this podcast to check out the YouTube video by Stories of Scale on Mark. But just to put his experiences in context, the short summary is Mark has had a wild time getting to where he is now. He lost an arm when he was 5 years old. He went to prison in his teens. And then he decided to turn his life around and become a businessman and entrepreneur. So it's a wild story. And we're going to have some fun today talking through his second novel, which was released in October this year and is called Alpha Seed, Beta Need.
Exactly. Thank you.
One of the reviews Mark had from a psychoanalyst described the book this way. The book may seem about just another guy who wants to pick up women at first look. However, that analysis can happen as a defense mechanism against our own repressed desires and our inferiority complex, which makes us unconsciously compete with the main character. The main character stood out for me because after the first impression of a guy, who just has a lot of intercourse, you can see a sensible man fighting for his son, trying to have a decent life. However, through his journey, of dating women, he truly is interested in understanding women and how they think and how they feel. And he never lies. This book indeed makes you question many things about romantic relationships and what women and men want, even if it's not what they say. So that gives you a pretty specific idea about this book. And today I'm going to be breaking it down with Mark, and we're going to be getting into the guts of it. But without further ado, I'd like to welcome Mark van Stratum. Thank you very much for joining me today, Mark.
Thank you, Perry, for that lovely introduction. Thank you.
Awesome. So just to start off, could you tell our listeners what genre this book fits into? Is it a semi-autobiography?
Yeah, it's an autobiography. Like, both of my books really are about my own life, about things that I go through and my experiences, my emotions, my feelings, and my analysis of what happened. Yeah, that's really what it is. That's really what it's come down to. So this story, the way this book is really written, it starts off, there's two storylines. It switches back and forth in time. There's two storylines. There's one storyline of a man. I'm both the characters, but you don't really know that in the beginning. But there's two characters. One is a man who has a girlfriend. He's getting married. He wants to start a life. His girlfriend's pregnant. He's getting a house, a mortgage. He's trying to live his dream life, with his family. Yeah. And the other one is a man who is by himself, alone in a foreign country and sleeping in hotels. And he is going on dates just every single day, sometimes multiple per day. And he's sleeping with every girl he meets. Yeah, almost every girl. The girls that he doesn't sleep with are the ones he rejects. But it's like, and it seems like what Dr. Nuno, wait, sorry, could you give my charger? Well, one sec, my battery's empty.
Yes, wait,
but anyway, so that's what Dr. Nuno actually pointed out there. That's what I liked about Dr. Sousa's review. That's why I asked you to read that one, because he really understood that. Yeah. Where it seems as if that guy who is sleeping with all those women is having the time of his life. But as you read on, the two stories kind of come together where you realize, like, hey, wait a minute. This is a depressed man. He is not feeling well at all. He is depressed. And this is compulsive behavior because his life fell apart. And it was actually Dr. Sousa, sorry, the review you just read from the psychoanalyst, Dr. Sousa. He told me that. I didn't even put this in the book, but he told me later. He's like, yeah, what this is that he lost control of his life and he immersed himself into the one thing that he has full control over, which is dating. And most men would bury themselves in work. But this man, his work was dating before. So he has full control when he's on a date. And that's why he emerges himself into that. But then, the two stories come together and then the whole thing unravels and he's fighting to get his wife back, to get his life back, but eventually he is unsuccessful in that because his wife has her own past that she's dealing with, which she can't escape either. And that's it's a tragic story in a way. On the other hand, it's insightful, and it can also be uplifting. Yeah, it just depends like how you choose to look at it.
Yeah. So when were you first inspired to write this book? Was it long after your first book, or?
Yeah, it was. I mean, to be honest, like after my first book came out, I was on top of the world. You know what I mean? Like I just started a very successful business. I made a lot of money. I was getting married, and that book came out, and everything was looking fine. And I really even thought like, I don't know what else I'm gonna write now because nothing else is going to happen in my life. That's what I thought. But then my marriage started to crumble. Yeah, started to fall apart, and that's when. And it was really weird because I didn't even really, this was really funny about it because I told my publisher, like, look, I think I have an idea for a new book. But at that time, I didn't even really know what was going to be in the book because I've written this book while everything was happening, right? I just saw at one point, like, hey, my wife is acting strange. That's just what it was. My wife is acting really strange. I wonder why. And then I told my publisher, I'm going to start writing down what's happened because this is really odd what's happening. And then the whole thing unraveled. Then I discovered she was having an affair, and I was like going into, travel to different countries. And I was meeting all these different girls, and I started to notice like, because the title of the book is Alpha Seed, Beta Need, right? Yeah. Or as I say in the book, it's Alpha Fox, Beta Bucks, which basically is evolutionarily speaking is the female mating strategy. And I got this from a psychologist from the US. There's a couple of evolutionary psychologists that cover this topic, but it's a female mating. Initially, when we used to live in tribes, it's a woman's innate instinct to get the child from the man with the strongest genes, the alpha. Yeah, as I say in the book, the man all the guys want to be and all the girls want to fuck that guy. And but then once she has that baby, settle down with the best provider, the beta. So it's Alpha Seed, Beta Need. And that is, of course, that is like an innate, like very primal instinct, obviously, because cavemen didn't really live past 25. So, like after 25, if we mature a little bit, we don't have to live through those instincts, you know what I mean? We can surpass them. But, those instincts are still there. That's really what this is about. And I started noticing a very strong change of behavior in my wife after she had the baby, which really was the reason why I started writing it. Yeah, why I had like an idea, like, hey, this is weird. Let me just write this down. And then everything that happened was just, I remember some things that happened and I wrote it down and I sent it to my publisher and he was like, bro, this really happened? I'm like, yeah, yesterday. And that's what makes it such a cool book because I had no idea what it was going to be when I started writing it. But in the end, it turned out to be like a pretty epic tale of like love, sex, and romance and drama and all kinds of stuff.
So were you thinking at all about a particular audience when you were writing this book, or was it more like a case study that you wanted to create that can be sort of interpreted by other people?
It was both, but I always, when I was writing it, I thought it was going to be more appealing to women. Yeah. And I see that when I was on the reviews I'm getting on Amazon. I see that the most women really understand what is in this book, while to most men it's a little bit foreign. But that is really because men generally don't really think about romance and sex and dates and these type of things. I mean, girls, when they go on a date, like they discuss every little detail that goes on in the date. Guys don't. Ah, man, she was hot and I got laid. Oh, I was hot and I think I'm not get laid. Well, that's how guys think. Yeah. Women are like, okay, what's he wearing? How's he smelling? How's he behaving? How's he moving? What's his voice tonality? Like, you know what I mean? Does he, and all these little sub communications that you never even think of, and those things are all in the book. And that's why I see that women tend to really understand it more. Like for a lot of men, it's like, it seems, but that's actually, I put this is actually one of the first chapters where I write like, and it's really because of the dating apps and social media that we live in a globalized sexual marketplace right now. Yeah. So what this has done is one of the quotes on the book. Let me see if I remember the sentence I wrote. Social media is a digital time machine back to the dating habits of tribalism on a global scale. Yeah, that was the sentence. And so what happens is because there is an abundance of options on it. It used to be that we used to live in like a tribe or in a village, and the hottest guy would get with the hottest girl, and everybody would kind of like be like that, whatever. But now the hottest girl in the tribe is not going to go with the hottest guy in the village. No, she's going to get picked up by some like multi-millionaire that lives in, I don't know, Las Vegas. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like that's or the hottest guy there. You know what I mean? That's how it is now. So, and because men are biologically designed to spread their seed, and the women are biologically designed to choose the very best option, to choose the very best, as a survival instinct, especially young women. Yeah, I'm not talking about mature women. I'm talking about, women in their early 20s, that are still, still developing themselves. They tend to just go for the hottest guy or the most exciting guy. And because of that, then the calculation is that really it's like this, that 10% of men, like most men live almost sexless. Most men have to like really fight for even the tiniest bit of sexual attention from any woman. And then you have the top 10% of men that are really, all women want them. And they have unlimited options. And that's really what you see in the book, where the guy, he gets out of his marriage and he starts dating, and suddenly like women are just like that, like one after the other. And And those women know. That's the funny thing, because they know this. The women, it's not as if that's also what Dr. Sousa said in his review. Like, he never lies. Like, yeah, you don't have to. You don't have to lie.
Yeah.
Because even the first chapter, it's like, hey, wait a minute, a girl, like I'm walking with a girl into my hotel room, and this truly happened. Where the girl was like, hey, but you had sex with another girl yesterday, right? I'm like, yeah, I did. And that didn't matter at all, because she's not looking for a long-term thing. She's just looking to have fun, and she knows that, yeah, it's only a very select group of men that are actually attractive, because most men are unattractive to most women. So there's a very select group of men that are actually attractive, and she knows that she's going to have to share those guys if she wants, because she's just looking for fun, right? She's not looking for a relationship. It's just fun. And that's really what you see as well, but that's only a very small part of the book, right? But that's one of the things I've noticed.
Yeah. So would you call this book similar to a self-help book for men or women going through these types of challenges?
Yeah, it could be, right? You could take things out of it as like lessons in like how to look at like relationships and things like that. Although I haven't written it as a self-help book. I didn't really like, okay, here's your 12 rules for life or something. No, it's a story. It's a story, and there's lessons in the story. And hey, look, do with that. Because the way I write is like, look, I don't make any judgment. I don't give any advice. I just say like, look, this is a bunch of stuff that happened.
Yeah.
These are my conclusions.
Yeah.
Do with that information as you please. That's the way I write, Yeah.
So what other cases did you draw from to come to your conclusions on relationships? Did you use similar ideas from like certain psychoanalysis or people of that nature, sort of deep dive into the chemistry of the brain?
Yeah, because I'm very interested in this topic. So like I said, I'm a former dating coach, so I knew already a lot about sexual desires and basically the science of dating. Basically, that's what I knew a lot about already. Yeah. And now, but for this book, I've really dived into it like a lot more, and I've really discussed this with psychologists and psychoanalysts as well. And I try. That's why I had the book reviewed actually by Dr. Sousa, because I just don't like writing nonsense. You know what I mean? I want like somebody with a doctorate in psychology to read all the psychological things that I've written and to say like, yeah, this is correct, and that's what happened. So I'm happy about that. So yeah, that's very, very important to me, because I really don't like writing nonsense.
Yeah. So let's go a bit deeper into the themes of this book. Is there a certain type of feeling that you're trying to evoke from this story?
You know what? There's several, right? Several. Because on one hand, there's certain chapters that are just very exciting, especially women that are like into romance novels. They will not be disappointed. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's a lot of sexual tension. There's a lot of just sex as well. You know what I mean? Things like that. Fine. Yeah. But at the same time, I give a very accurate description of the breakdown of a marriage and why does that happen.
Yeah.
And that part of the book is really going to give you a feeling, because I know there's people that have read the book at the end and like, oh shit, you know what I mean? It gives you, it's not a nice feeling at all. It's just, you know, you have to feel, because you feel like, okay, you're doing everything you can to make this relationship work, and there's a child involved as well. You know what I mean? That you love so much, you know, whatever, and everything just falls apart, and no matter what you do, you can't save it.
Yeah.
And that is a terrible, terrible feeling. But what I'm just trying to do is, like, it's not just one feeling. It's because I'm trying to, it's about, that's why it's called alpha seed. It's alpha seed, beta. It's a contrast. It's opposites.
Yeah.
So I'm trying, on one hand, you have a feeling like, oh shit, this is just not working. And on the other hand, you have a feeling like, oh, actually, things are working really well. But then in the end, if you make the equation, I mean, it kind of all evens out. You know what I mean? It kind of just, you know, and at one point I just say, like, look, you know, it just is what it is. You know what I mean? I'm not even gonna, you know, it's just realistic. It's realistic. It's not bad. It's not good. It's not bad. It just is, you know, that's it. Yeah.
So how did you come up with the title for this book, Alpha Seed, Beta Need? And also,
that's from, sorry.
Just for the people who don't know, what's the meaning behind the title?
Yeah, no, this is the evolutionary psychology. It's like what I just said. It's alpha seed, beta need. This is actually some information that this actually is in the book. That it used to be like this, that tribal humans, right, Homo sapiens, and these humans, because people always think of cavemen as like these big brutes that are dumb, but no, cavemen, Homo sapiens, were just like us. They were actually probably even smarter than we are, because all the stupid people used to die. So, you know, so cavemen were just like us, exactly the same. We had the same emotions, the same thoughts, everything the same. But we used to live in tribes where all women together took care of all children together, and most children were from one or two men. Those were the alpha. So it's alpha seed, beta need. But the beta men were there still to help the tribe survive, and would probably still attend to the children, attend to the women, whatever, but they would not reproduce with the women. And these are just, like I said, it's an evolutionary psychology is seen as the innate female mating strategy of tribal humans is alpha seed, beta need. Like get the baby from the man with the strongest genes and settle down with the best beta provider to have yourself, to have for yourself and your children the safest life. That's what that title means in evolutionary psychology.
Yeah. So I heard you talking about political correctness in your other interview with Isaac Mashman, and you guys had a really interesting conversation about how human nature is different to the way society wants it to be perceived. What are your thoughts on bringing out a book like this in the current environment with like everything going on with like the Me Too movement, all that? Have you had any resistance from people like that?
Oh yeah, of course. But you know what it is. Like, look, this was, like I said again. That's why I'm so happy with my review from Dr. Sousa, man. Because he read it and he said, like, look, it's his first sentence in his review. Like, look, I'm sorry if you get offended by this book. I mean, he didn't say it in these words, but basically, because I spoke to him, it comes down to this: if people read this book and get offended by it, that's a reflection on them. Yeah. Because I didn't say anything offensive in this book at all. If somebody takes this as being offensive, then hey, I don't know what to tell you. That's why the very first sentence in the book is, if you're offended by hearing the truth, whose fault is that? Yeah. And that's just because this is the thing. And for another thing as well, because I know, especially in the US, I don't know how it is in Australia. I mean, I'm in Southern Europe now. I'm in Portugal. Here it's a bit less. Like, people are a little bit more traditional here, so people are a little bit less offended by those things. But in Western Europe and like in Northern Europe, and I think in the US, it's like people are like, so. I mean, there's political correctness, but it's not even politically correct. It's just wrong. It's not, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's cool. Look, it's cool to be politically correct in the sense, like, look, anybody, you know, like, I don't want to, like, you know, discriminate against anybody's race. Anybody can have their own sexual orientation or gender that they please. I don't care. It's fine, whatever. But there are certain things that are just fact, and to just sit there and just basically just deny facts. I'm like, what are you doing? But I must say this as well, though. Most people in the world are not like that. I think that is a very small minority in the US that seem to have the biggest mouth right now. But I really think that most people, men and women, that you meet in regular life are not like that. Because to be honest, some of the things that I write about, for example, I mean, there's because I describe all my dates in the book, and this all truly happened. Like all the dates I went on, the girls asked me, so what kind of book are you writing? I'm like, oh, I'll tell you, I'm writing a book about how men and women experience love differently. And the women didn't get offended. They were like, oh, really? What do you mean? And then I explained it to them, and they all were like, oh, actually, yeah, you're right. You know, because everybody can relate. It's just a very small percentage of people that might get offended by that. But like what Dr. Sousa said, that's a reflection on them.
Yeah.
Okay. If you tell people the truth and they're offended, it's not your fault.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is kind of similar to one of my last questions, but it sort of carries over. What do you want people to take away from this book, and how do you want them to feel at the end of the story if you do have something like that?
You know, I want people to just like read this and just understand a bit better how men and women, how human relationships really work, and especially what we call intergender dynamics. That's what it is, right? Because it is true that now that, you know, wait, let me just phrase this in the best way. I'm sorry. It's just that we're so confused right now about the way genders relate to each other, and what do women want from men and what do men want from women. And it is like this is also in the book. For example, one of the things that actually one of the girls told me this, right? She said that, well, actually, and this girl studied psychology as well, actually. So she told me that she said feminism is the worst thing that ever happened to women. And mind you, this was a female psychologist who said that to me. And I asked her, I tell like, well, don't let my mom hear you say that, you know? she's like, yeah, but women like your mom grew up in a different world. They grew up in a world where men were in control, and she was really being oppressed by men. But women nowadays, they're not oppressed by men. In fact, their biggest complaint is that there's no real men left. Their biggest complaint is that they go on guys that are just scared. But I don't want a man that's scared. I want a man that is confident and knows what he's doing. But men nowadays are just even scared to talk to a girl. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And that's also why, you know, when she finally does meet a man who is not scared of telling her the things that, you know, maybe she doesn't want to hear, it's very exciting for her. It's like, oh, finally a man that gets it. That's what you see now. And that's actually one of the things that I kind of wanted to show as well, because even in the marriage that fell apart, the thing is that, and this is my own marriage, right? As soon as she got pregnant, and this again ties into I talk about this in the book, and this ties into my own relationship with my own father. Then I was going to be a father myself to a boy, which brought back a lot of subconscious, repressed, you know what I mean, emotions, which made me behave in a different way, which made me suddenly treat the girlfriend that I had, who's my wife now, suddenly I put her on a pedestal. She couldn't do nothing wrong. Everything she told me that she wanted, she got from me immediately. So I was no longer myself, which meant I was no longer the man that she fell in love with, even though I was now, you would think like, oh, this man is doing everything for you. But no, this is not the man she fell in love with. There's actually one psychologist out there, and he says, he gives the analogy of Beauty and the Beast, that Belle falls in love with the beast, and then he turns into a prince. And the psychologist goes, okay, but wait a minute. She didn't fall in love with the prince. She fell in love with the beast. I'm like, huh. And that's kind of what that comes down to as well. You understand that?
Yeah.
That's interesting, isn't it? You know?
Yeah.
So it's, but I gotta say about this book, because this is what I kind of noticed as well. Like if you read it, you must really be able to look beneath the surface if you want to understand this book, because I present a lot of seemingly very superficial things, and if you lack the capacity to look underneath, if you look at it's all about subtext. What's being said without it being said? Yeah, that's really. And if you are not able to read that, you won't get this book. It's a book that is, because that's what I see. Then you think, oh, well, this is just a superficial story about, you know, a guy who loses his wife and then sleeps with a bunch of girls. Like, no, not at all. This is it's actually very thorough research has been done. This has been checked by psychologists, and the message really is in the subtext. What's being said without it being said.
So this is similar to what you've just been saying. But was there any new things you discovered about yourself while writing this book?
Yeah, I matured a lot. I matured. The 2 years I wrote this was 2 years. I matured a lot. So much has happened. I feel like I'm a completely different person now. Like I really feel that, and it forced me writing the book. It was a very, because I was writing this book while my marriage was falling apart, right? And it was just a very, very, very stressful time for me. And writing kept me sane.
Yeah.
It kept me saying that whenever something happened, I would sit down and I would write, and I would like read it, and I would analyze, and I would rewrite it and edit it, and you know what I mean, like, and then discuss it with a psychologist, and who would like, you know, give me insights, and I'd be like, oh, okay, that's, yeah, it kept me sane, and it really helped me grow as a person. Because to be honest, if I wouldn't have been, because that, mind you, because that's actually also what some of the psychologists that I've worked with on this book have told me, that what has happened to me there, this is when most guys go over the edge. This is when men commit suicide. This is when, you know what I mean? This is when men go crazy. And I didn't. And the reason why I didn't was because I was writing this book. That was really the reason. It kept me sane. So that's
amazing,
yeah.
man.
So
that's amazing, man. That's great.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no. That sort of ties to one question I wanted to ask. It's a bit off topic, but I saw on your Amazon profile that you described as being a modern day Charles Bukowski, if that's how you say his name. But were you all inspired at all by that guy, Charles Bukowski?
No, not at all. No, to be honest, it's actually, his name is actually Bukowski. His name is pronounced Bukowski. It's a Polish name, but that's fine. That's fine. I know he lived in the US, so Bukowski is fine. But anyway, I wasn't even really that familiar with his work. It was actually one of the girls I was seeing. It was really kind of funny because one of the girls, she was staying in my place, and she told me, like, living with you is like living with Bukowski. And I was like, oh, I thought it was more like that guy from that series, Californication. She's like, yeah, that is Bukowski. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
So that was her. And then there was also my publisher who read it as well. So he's like, yeah, this is like Bukowski. So I'm like, all right, I guess so. So to be honest, I didn't write that text, right? That was my publisher who wrote that. So it's not me. But yeah, no, I get it. I've read some of his work now. Yeah, I see the resemblance.
Yeah. Well, he's one guy. He's writing to keep himself sane. Basically, he's been pushed.
Yeah, no, it's yeah. No, it's true. I do. I've read more about him now, and I've read some of his work, and I see the similarity not only in the writing style but also in lifestyle. Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
So in terms of feedback from audiences so far, what type of feedback have you been getting? And has there been a certain audience that has particularly loved this book?
Yeah, it's like I told you, it's people that are able to read subtext. Yeah, people that are able to like look beyond. But it's mainly women that really have liked this book. Although some men have got, like I said, like I just get my reviews on Amazon, right? I got like 180 reviews right now. I mean, the book came out like a few weeks ago, right? So it's going pretty fast. But so yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's different, right? Some people really just have really a difficulty looking past past the surface, right? But there's like a lot of people, most people that are capable of doing that, fortunately. And yeah, I see women really enjoyed the insights in the romance a lot. And there's a lot of men that have really. One man wrote a review, I think it's a topper who right now. He said that he felt that he had been skillfully played by the author. He said, like, and that's kind of what I was trying to do as well, where I try to present it in a certain way, and then you keep reading, and then suddenly it turns around. They're like, oh wait, it's actually another way. And I keep doing that throughout the book the entire time. It's really a book of opposites, and it's people that are just capable of understanding that. It's that really like it. Yeah.
That's great, Mark. That's awesome. So finally, I'd love for you to share with people how they can get in contact with you and how they can get a hands-on copy of Alpha Seed Beta Need.
Well, you can actually reach out to me on Instagram. That's actually where I mainly connect with people. You know, it's a real Mark Van Stratum is my Instagram. You can message me there if you'd like. My books are available on Amazon at the moment. I'm currently talking to my publisher when it's going to be in bookstores, and I'll keep people available when it's going to be available in bookstores.
Awesome. Well, Mark, this has been great. Thanks so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you.
For everyone watching this video or listening to this podcast, if you haven't already, remember to check out the social media links that I post on this YouTube video. They'll have all the links to Mark's accounts and stuff. Also, if you'd like to meet other awesome writers and learn about their journeys and their development as writers, don't forget to subscribe. And thanks heaps, guys. I'll catch up with you all soon. Catch up.
Thanks, Barry. See you later. Bye-bye.